Hey guitar friends, Bob Strom here with All About Guitar Academy. You know, as a 60-year-old guitar teacher, player, recording artist, everything all about guitar, I understand what it's like to be learning guitar at 60 plus. So today, if you're here as a 60-year-old beginner and you want to learn how to play the guitar in 6 weeks or less, you came to the right video because we're going to have a complete breakdown of how to do just that. Hey guitar friends, welcome back. Now if you're a 60-year-old guitarist or older, I'm here to prove you wrong if you think you're too old to start playing guitar. And the reason that I know that that statement is wrong and untrue is because I've been teaching guitar players how to learn to play the guitar in as little as 6 weeks or less for many, many years, and I have taught thousands of people how to play the guitar. Most of these folks are my age and older, which is 60 plus. So I've got good news for you today. We're going to break it down. I'm going to give you the complete guide for how to start playing guitar and actually learning to play the guitar in as little as 6 weeks. Are you ready? Let's go. All right, I think first what we have to do is start off with why would we want to do this at age 60 and up? Well, the first reason I believe is because you are more disciplined now. You're able to master your schedule probably better than you did before. You've got a lot of life experience. So you're able to have more self-discipline and stick to a plan. And that's what we've got to have. We've got to have a plan. The first thing you're going to need, of course, is a guitar. All right. I'm holding a Fender Stratocaster HSS model. This one's made in Mexico. One of my favorite guitars. I would highly recommend something like this for a 60-year-old plus beginner guitarist. And here's why. Because these guitars are generally pretty light. They're easy to play, really smooth action on the fretboard. The frets are a little bit bigger than some of your other guitars like Gibson Les Pauls and things like that. So the Stratocaster is just an all-around great fit for a beginner guitar player in their 60s. Now, don't get me wrong, there's also other Fender guitars that I would recommend too. Jaguar, Telecaster, they make really, really good guitars. Now, I've got my share of Gibson guitars, Ibanez, and lots of other brands, but this is one I would recommend to anybody just starting out. Now, let's say you don't want to start on electric, you want to start on acoustic. Well, in the description for this video, I've included several picks that I would recommend for beginner guitar players to play on acoustic guitar. And the prices are very reasonable for most of these guitars, so check that out in the description links. And these are paid links that I have from Sweetwater. I'm a Sweetwater affiliate member, so I do get a commission if you buy one of those guitars, just letting you know. Okay, back to our discussion. So you got to pick the right guitar. The next thing you want to do is make sure that your guitar has the right action on it. And what I mean by that is that the strings are low enough to the fretboard to where you're not going to be pressing down really hard on the strings. Nylon string guitars are really good as well. A good classical type nylon string guitar. That's how I started out when I was much younger. And I believe that helped me to get my fingers conditioned and also to learn how to play the guitar. So if you're going acoustic, you don't need an amp, but of course you're going electric, you're going to need an amp. And I use a Black Star practice amp. I'll put that in the description as well. Very affordable. It has everything you need to get started on guitar. But the choice is yours. Pick a guitar that's best for you. All right, so now we've got our guitar. We've got an amp if needed. You also want to make sure you have picks. And now we need to have a plan in place. So a good plan that we're going to put into place has to allow time for practice. Practice makes progress, doesn't make perfect, but we've got to have time to practice after each lesson. And in my Fast Track Guitar course that I offer online, I teach my students how to learn basic 2-finger chords first. And then we move into the 3 and 4-finger chords. And we also learn how to do strumming patterns and their first song in 6 weeks or less. That means we're going to need to practice every single day for at least 15 minutes, preferably 30 minutes to an hour is what I would recommend every single day. And longer if you're able to. But if you have injuries, you have arthritis, health issues, things like that, it's totally understandable if you need to break your practice times up into smaller segments of time. So make sure that you allow for that. But we've got to have practice before we even get started down this path. We've got to put that into our schedules. And now I'm going to go through each lesson with you quickly here at YouTube. But if you want to take your time and have 24/7 access to this particular plan, get my fast track guitar course. All right, let's jump right in. So the first chord that I teach my students is E minor. It looks like that. Okay, and the reason that I focus on E minor is because it's only 2 fingers and it's usually a fairly easy chord to learn. And if you see the chord chart here, and that's another thing you want to learn is how to read chord charts. You're looking at the guitar like this, at this angle, and you've got each string. If there's an X above the string, that means don't play that string or mute it. And if there's a circle above the string, that means to go ahead and play that string. It's an open string. So you can see with E minor, we're playing all 6 strings, and I'm just strumming very lightly. And that takes me to the next thing that we want to practice is how to strum. And a good way to learn is to, turn your guitar down, your volume down, or if you have an acoustic guitar that you're practicing on, we're just going to cover the strings with our fretting hand. So all we hear is that. Okay? And I'm just barely pressing down on each string. I'm strumming from the low E string all the way down to the high E string. Now we're also going to want to learn what each string is, and that comes in my course, or you can see other videos on this particular part of the lesson. I'll put a link right up here for that one as well. But assuming that we already know what each string is, we already know that E minor is like this. We want to make sure that we learn how to strum. So what I teach my students is just strum down, 3, 4, and now we're going to try it with the chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, again. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we're not going to worry about any fancy stuff right now. So we're just learning how to hold the guitar, play the chord, and strum it down. So before we can move on to the next lesson, we have to make sure that our chord is sounding right. If you're hearing some buzzing sounds like this, or you're not hearing all of the strings come through, and it's probably because you're not holding the chord correctly. And what you want to do is make sure for this E minor chord that you're curling your fingers like this. And I'm using finger 2 and 3. You can use finger 1 and 2, but I'll show you why I like to use 2 and 3. And what I'm doing is just putting those fingers straight down on top of string 5 and string 4, because I number the strings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I want to make sure that I'm making contact with the fretboard and I'm not touching any of the other strings around those 2 fingers. All right. So that's going to take some practice, that first chord, getting it right and being able to strum each string and hearing each note. All right, so be patient with yourself. And that's another thing, another little tip to let you know is if you're 60 plus and you're just now learning guitar, give yourself a break. Be patient. Allow yourself time to learn, okay? So we're just in week 1 right now. We've got E minor. We're strumming down. Now we're going to go to the next chord, A sus2, which is a lot like an E minor. It looks like this, but we're moving our fingers down towards the floor, 1 string over. and we're just playing string 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 instead of string 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So we're not playing this low E string. We're just playing the 5 strings. All right, and so this is what we're learning in our second week, and we're still strumming. But by now, we might want to try a strumming pattern like this. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Just a simple strumming pattern. And that's what I recommend you do in your first couple weeks. Keep it very, very simple. All right, so we've learned 2 chords, 2 strumming patterns. Now we want to go into our third week, but keep in mind, you want to practice those 2 chords several times. Like I said, remember, every single day we're practicing. And a good way to do it would be practice E minor and then switch to A sus2. So for example, we'll do E minor 4 times down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then now we're going to switch to A sus2. And all we have to do is lift these 2 fingers up, bring them over 1 more string. You know, think of it like if you had some tape around your fingers and you're just moving that E minor shape to the A sus2 shape. And then strum it down. 3 and 4. All right, very good. And so you can imagine what we're going to be doing in the next lesson, and that's going to be learning another chord. But this time we're going to make it 2 chords, and we're going to do what we call a G6 and a C major 7. All right, and that's what those look like. I'll do that again. G6 and then a C major 7. Same chord shape. We're doing the same thing. We're starting on string 6 and 5, and then on the G6, and then to play the C major 7, we're going to move down towards the floor 1 string with the same chord shape and play from string 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So that's our C major 7. So by week 3, we want to have those 2 chords down, and we want to be doing smooth chord transitions from each chord. And then moving into week number 4, we're going to continue to practice those chord transitions with the 4 chords. So we've got the E minor, the A sus2, and we've got the G6 and the C major 7. So now we've got 4 chords behind us by our 4th week, and we're transitioning between those chords with 2 strumming patterns. All right, in my course, I begin to teach more strumming patterns at this point, and we learn 1 more chord, and that is D sus2. It looks like this, and I like to play it with finger 1 and finger number 3. And we're only playing 4 strings, so you might have to look at your guitar, but we're just playing string 4, 3, 2, and 1. Sounds like that. 3, 4. And then if we're going to strum down and then back up again, it would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we actually have 5 chords down, and we're going into week number 5. Can you guess what we're going to do in week number 5? We're going to learn a new song. And in my course, what I do with my students, I keep it very, very simple, and they learn their first song by week number 5, sometimes by week number 4. It's really up to you and the pace that you need to go at. It depends on your health and your situation. And so everybody moves at a different pace. So just remember that. Give yourself some patience. Move at your own pace. But by now we're at week number 5, and we're getting ready for week 6. In week 6, we've learned our first song, and now we are practicing that song, and we're practicing all of those chord transitions so that by the end of lesson number 6, week 6, we're able to practice the 5 chords that we learned, and these are just 2-finger chords, but we're able to put them into a song. All right, I'm going to give you an example of a song, and we're just going to make it up. So with those 5 chords, I'm going to do E minor, then I'm going to do A sus2, then I'll do G6, C major 7, D sus2, and we'll end on the E minor. All right, so I'm going to start it. We're going to strum down. Here we go. E minor. A sus2. G6. C major 7. And then D sus2. And then back to E minor. All right, I don't know what song that was, but we just made it up as we went along. Now in my course, we do a real song, and then there's also some bonus songs that I throw out there as well. And we cover this on my YouTube channel too, so make sure you like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. So moving along, by week 6, we've learned our first song. We know 5 chords. We know some strumming patterns, and we're starting to feel really comfortable with the guitar. Transitions on chords might be a little bit slower than we want to, but that's why we keep practicing every single day. And remember what I said? 15 to 30 minutes minimum, but preferably 30 minutes to an hour a day is what's going to make the most progress. All right, now keep in mind that not every guitar student is the same as another guitar student. And I realize this from teaching guitar for so many years. And what I mean by that is some students might have more finger pain than others. There's ways around that. And there are ways to make it less pain because you don't want to feel pain. Did you know that most guitarists quit playing guitar because either they're feeling pain in their fingers or they're not moving along fast enough? That's why I like this 6-week approach using very, very simple chords. Make sure you have the right guitar, the right action on your strings. You might even need extra light strings. That's okay. Or nylon string guitars, like I mentioned before. Make it easy on yourself. All right, so once we get to week number 6 and we've figured out what all of our issues are that we're having trouble with, strumming, making the chord sound right, transitions, we want to continue to practice on those skills. So practice is really important, like I keep saying, and I've got a video, I'll put that up here, of the perfect practice session to kind of help you stay on track with this. Now, we're past week 6, all right? So now we're getting into week 7 and 8 and 9. What do we do now? Well, we're going to learn more chords. So remember that E minor chord you learned? We're going to take that index finger, finger number 1 that's sticking straight up here, and we're going to put it right down on string number 3. Here's the chord chart. And now I've got an E major chord. Whoa. See the difference in the sound? We got E minor, kind of sounds melancholy and, a lot of feeling going on there. And then we've got a happier E major chord. All right, and the way we're playing this E major chord is just simply starting with the E minor that we've already learned and then putting that index finger down on the right string, which is string number 3, our G string, fret number 1, and then we play all 6 strings. Okay, then we're going to learn, remember the A sus2 chord that you learned. Now we're going to make an A minor chord, okay? And we're going to do the same thing, same chord shape as we just did with E minor to E major. We're going to do the same chord shape from A sus2 to A minor. Right? And so I think you see where I'm going with this. We've conditioned our fingers to play 2-finger chords. Now it's a little bit easier to get into the 3-finger chords, the 4-finger chords, and that's what I do with my students after week 6 and 7. We start focusing on new chords, new songs, new strumming patterns, and I'm not going to get into strumming patterns today. I'll save that for another lesson. And we also start learning techniques like finger picking. We learn techniques like how to keep time and rhythm, using a metronome, a drum machine, things like that. So the rest of your guitar journey after week 6 and 7, the possibilities are endless. The key is to keep practicing. Practice every single day. Don't listen to those voices telling you you're too old to learn to play the guitar. That is not true. You can learn how to play the guitar, and I hope to see you in this video if you want to continue learning, or you can check out this playlist down here to help you keep going on your guitar journey. All right, I'll see you in the next video.